My love of pattern is no secret, but today I actually want to share with you why I get excited to see solid colors on the back of my pattern papers. Hi, I'm Jess from JessCrafts.com, and I'm here to help you make the most of your crafty supplies and time. So let's get making. So I have a bunch of paper pads from scrapbook.com. I love scrapbook.com paper. They come in A2 and 6x8 sizes. I do tend to like the 6x8 because I already have 20 paper busting templates for 6x8 paper. So I can easily use 6x8 paper. So if I like their patterns, it's kind of like a no-brainer for me. And I pretty much always like their patterns. I have a serious problem. But anyway, today we are going to focus on why it's nice to have solids on the back of your patterned papers. When I see that, I actually get excited because sometimes working with two bold patterns in one card can be challenging, but if I have the other side as solids, it's really, really helpful for my paper busting templates. So today I'm going to work with 6x8 paper busting template number 1, and as I said, there are 20 of these. So if you go to jesscrafts.com, you can enter your email address and download some of these templates, including this one, and there's going to be a link right in the video description to this particular template, which I have shown before. Or you can buy just a big pack of 20 different ideas from my Etsy shop. And for these templates, that solid paper is going to be really great. So let's cut up a piece of paper and get making a card. Now, this template as shown doesn't work very well with directional pattern paper, but if you turn it on its side, then it starts to work. One of the things that's nice about those solids on the back is that they're non-directional because they're just solid paper. So I can have a little bit of flexibility. The template says to take your 6x8 piece of paper and cut it down to 4x6. Then cut that in half again so you have two 4x3 pieces of pattern paper. Then the other part of the template requires 1.5 by 4 inch strips. So I'm at 6, I go to 4.5. That's a 1.5 sheet that I've cut off now. Then to 3, and then to 1.5 again. Okay, so now I have some choices. I can make my card as shown in the sketch, where I will take these now non-directional pieces because they're solid and put them like this, and then use that really bold pattern paper in the center of the sketch. I'm going to do something a bit different today because I wanted to show you that just because it's shown this way doesn't mean that's your only option. A lot of times you can turn the card on its side. And so now my directional pattern paper works well for the sides of the card, and I have this solid piece to go here in the center, and that's really easy to embellish. So I've cut up a piece from the Merry line, from the Noel line, and from the Joyful line, and I'm gonna start by putting some adhesive on the back of all of these strips. I'm putting it on the solid side because I'm gonna let my patterns show on the edges of the sketch, and we're gonna make all of these in that landscape orientation just to mix it up. And I always like to remind people that there's like a lot of options with the sketches, even though it seems very prescribed. It seems like it's telling you, hey, glue everything exactly like this. You absolutely can do your own thing with the cards. And then here, this one is from the Noel line, but it has the like burgundy back and the red front with these specks, so it really doesn't look particularly Christmassy. It would be great for Christmas, and with the right embellishments, it looks very, it looks appropriately Christmassy, but I do like when a paper pad works for a holiday, but also can be used outside of the holiday. It gives me a few more options. And then, of course, sometimes it's fun to just use the very obviously themed pattern paper, like with those snowmen there. So then we're going to add the other chunk of paper. We're going to put the adhesive on the pattern side and use the solid. And so I like the solid because, like I said, it's non-directional, so it gives me some more options, but also because I don't have to add a mat. Now here, I gotta admit, I actually do kind of want a mat for this one. I do think for the scale, I do like it a little bit better with the mat. I think it makes it stand out. Nice thing about my ATG is if I place it down and I don't press really, really hard, I can usually pull it up with minimal damage or tearing, etc. So let's try it again with a mat. Now you may have noticed my mat had a bunch of die cutting out of the center of it, and that's because I had thought about this idea ahead of time. I like to make my video a little bit faster than my thought process. We can't be here for hours. But now I have this craft mat around the outside. Okay, so what I want to do is some really simple embellishing. I have this die cut set from scrapbook.com called Bear Hugs. It's missing most of its dies because they're all over my desk, but it has all the pieces that you need to create a bear, and it has a hugs sentiment that goes with it. I kind of like when you have that option of a sentiment, because then, like, if you're just starting to invest in dies, not only do you get a cute shape, but you also have this really versatile year-round die as well, especially at scrapbook.com's prices, or when it goes as part of their live stream deals, as many of you know. So I have cut the pieces for the bear. Usually when I die cut, I want to make a couple of cards at a time, because die cutting to me is a pretty time-consuming thing to do. Now that sounds kind of silly, like stamping and coloring probably takes even longer, but I don't know, if I'm gonna die cut, I'm gonna usually make a couple. So I have in my scrapbook.com stack and sort tray a bunch of bear butts, the back half of the bear, and I need to put my ink on top of my mat here because that's helping to hold it down. My ink's not moving too much, luckily. And then I can just grab one, blend it, grab one, blend it, and then I can do the same thing with the heads. So I kind of decide where I want to put a little bit of interest and highlights. Now this die set comes with a die to cut the eyes and the ear and the nose. Those of you who've been to my channel before know there's a very low chance that I'm going to die cut and glue that kind of stuff down. Not because it's not adorable, because it absolutely is. Oh, when I do the tail, I'm not even going to add more ink. I'm just going to like put it in the middle of the mess that I already have and just get a little bit of color on it. You could of course just leave these plain. I just think that the inking does add some nice interest to it. And I do have an alternative, because I feel like I'm skipping all over the place. Sorry guys. There's a polar bear version too, in my mind, because I mentioned this in a video recently about how you could turn this die into either a polar bear or a brown bear or a black bear. I didn't do a black bear because I don't know really. I think I just chose brown because it seemed like the more obvious solution, but like doing some like dark gray paper with a little bit of black ink. So you have some choices with your bear, but I'm gonna do a polar bear version and a brown bear version today. And the little tail. But okay, yeah, so I'm not gonna cut little eyes and glue them on. Like, we know this about me. I have a whole video about how I lazy craft die cuts. I realize it's not actually lazy, but it's just it's a silly, way to describe it. And you get what I mean when I say that. So for my brown bear, I'm gonna take a pink colored pencil and I'm going to color in his ear. The reason I'm doing a colored pencil and not a marker is because the markers I have are my Copic markers, and they're actually kind of translucent, and I want something a bit more opaque for the ear. I don't want you to be able to see the color through it, so that's why I went with the colored pencil, but a marker would be totally fine. It's not that big a deal. And then scrapbook.com printed on the back a finished version of the die cut. So that tells me where to position my eyes, which is great if you're die cutting them, and also great if you're gonna draw them on, because now I don't have to think like where they're gonna go, because that's probably something that I would struggle with. I'm not an artist, so I don't know, like, you know, where's the place that makes sense. I mean, I kind of know it's like here along the snout line, but having that little like cheat sheet is quite helpful. I like it a lot. And then I'm just gonna color in the nose, and that's gonna give me pretty much the effect of die cutting them all with a lot less steps. Right, and so in case you didn't make the connection, because I did say these things very disjointedly, I cut the bear, the 3 pieces of die cut I needed for the bear, out of the piece that could act as a mat for these. So that's why I'm gonna add a mat to a lot of them, because I kind of needed that cardstock anyway. However, if you're like die cutting the white bear, I'm probably not gonna put a white mat around them because it's gonna be on a white card base, but maybe if you're using a different colored card base, that would be fine. But I just wanted to point out, like, part of the reason that I was motivated to do the mat is because I just kind of needed the brown cardstock anyway, and it helped to elevate the card a little bit. So now we have our die cut bear, and because I've picked such bold patterns for the side and a pretty substantial die cut for my embellishment, I can stamp a very simple sentiment and be done with these cards. Look how cute that polar bear is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm in love with it. I think it looks super cute, especially with the like little snowman paper. And I'm actually gonna stamp Thinking of You, which is from this teeny tiny little Friendly Bouquets at scrapbook.com stamp set. They gave it away as a freebie, so I do love to kind of circle back and use those, because a lot of times you guys have that in your stash. And I'm gonna stamp Thinking of You. And so my Christmas paper, my card doesn't turn out very Christmassy. I mean, I can absolutely send it at Christmas time. The winter one is certainly good for any time in the winter, which is what I prefer, because when I donate a lot of my cards, as many of you know, and they prefer cards that aren't necessarily for a holiday because it gives them a little bit more options in terms of when to send it. I mean, this one's going to be great for the fall, the spring, really just any time of year. So when I see that paper, at first it made me kind of think of fall, the Joyful collection, but I realized it's actually very like spring and summery too. I think I'm just in a fall mood lately, but that's such a pretty paper pad. Okay, so there we go. 3 cards, 3 different paper pads, but showing you the power of actually having that side that is solid. It gives you a lot of options and can actually make your cards come together really quickly, especially if you are using my paper busting templates. If you found this video helpful, here's another video where you can find more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know you like this video with a share to your crafty community, subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next template or tutorial, and check the video description for product links. See you in the next video.